If you are a busy professional over the age of 40, you're looking for the best way to grow to your full potential. You're dedicating time, energy, and effort, but you find yourself stuck, then you've likely fallen into the plateau loop. You've told yourself, okay, I want to make this amount of improvement, I want to achieve X, Y, or Z, I'm going to commit time, I'm going to commit energy, and how can it not work? Yet you find that you are getting nowhere. You've got the commitment, you've got the desire, you've got the drive, yet that maybe you think your age is holding you back, maybe you've peaked. Is this standard the new normal for me? Well, first off, I'm here to tell you that the plateau loop is not your fault. The plateau loop is simply a symptom of one of two programs perpetuated by caveman coaches. Now, in this video, I'll walk you through step by step the method to PB and get faster in your rowing again, even in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. Just like Sarah did, who crushed a 7-year plateau at 46, just like Tom did, who hit a lifetime PB at 57, pulling a 625 2K and a 259 1K, just like Kathy did, who at 60 years old went from an 838 2K down to 809 2K and is now chasing a lifetime PB again in her 60s. Now I get it, you've got the deflation, you've got that dissatisfaction, you've got that stagnation, and you're probably wondering now, what is a plateau loop? And what are the two problems that cause a plateau loop? And you're probably thinking, for fuck's sake, Jack, get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
But anyways, the two programs that cause a plateau loop are the One Size Fits None program and the See How I Feel program. Now, the plateau loop follows 4 steps. Step 1, with the best intentions, start following a One Size Fits None program or the See How I Feel program. Step 2, you get stuck or you just don't progress at the rate that you know you should. Step 3, because of that, you push more or do more. Step 4, burnout, which leads you back to step 1, where you try and tweak programs that are fundamentally flawed. Now, of course, a plateau can mean that you're stuck. A plateau can also mean that you're not progressing at the rate at which you should be. I will be comparing these two methods to the method that will get you to your full potential in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. We will be comparing all of these areas and ranking each of the methods based on how well they do in each of these areas. But first, an explanation. A One Size Fits None program is a group program trying to get around 30, 20, 15, 40 people all faster at the same time. It tries to accommodate for their schedules, their weak areas, what training load is right, and it ends up never properly working for you. The See How I Feel program is the reactive, do it yourself, wake up in the morning, see how I feel, and let that dictate what sort of training I do. Of course, there's flexibility in it, but there's absolutely no planning. There's no structure and there's no consistency to it. Now, the third method that I'll be walking you through in detail so that you can understand it and you can implement it into your rowing is the AIM method. The AIM method is based around what will work best for you. It's using adaptive bullseye training, intentional technique, and methodical mindset. Adaptive bullseye training is where you use your data, your schedule, your preferences, your races that you want to enter, and then build a training structure that is designed around you. Intentional technique is where you break down your stroke into actionable pieces of advice that you can go out and do. So rather than saying have better catches, it's breaking it down into steps that allow you to have better catches. Similarly, methodical mindset is about breaking down the way that you train your mind to improve your focus, improve your ability to handle nerves, and overall improve your enjoyment of the sport by approaching mindset training in the same way that we train our bodies and we train our technique. This is the method that got me from starting late at 19 years old and being told I was too short to ever make it, to then getting into the GB team at 26 years old. It's also a form of training that all the small countries like New Zealand and Ireland use to get their small populations producing a large amount of rowing results. Now, first we look at your schedule. Your schedule is what time you have, what equipment you have, what's easy for you, what works well around your work schedule. And with a One Size Fits None program, you're being forced to fit into the schedule of 10, 20, 30 other people. It gets a 3 out of 10. The See How I Feel program works great around your personal schedule because it's you deciding it. That gets a 10. The AIM method is literally based entirely around what your schedule is so that you can seamlessly get results in it. Suzanne is a doctor doing 12-hour shifts 7 days per week for 1 week and then having 1 week off entirely, which alternates. We use this method with her, and while keeping her effort the same, she took 25 seconds off of her 2K in 3 months. Now we look to the good stuff, the data analytics, your weak areas. Now, sometimes One Size Fits None programs look at data, they track data, but they can only ever get an average of what the squad is doing. It gets a 4 out of 10. Now, you might be in one of the rare cases, but if you're on a See How I Feel program, there is a very slim chance that you are doing data analytics, figuring out what your weak areas are, and targeting. That gets a 1 out of 10. The AIM method compares your data by doing 2 things. 1, it profiles your physiology to get a full picture of where your weak and strong areas are. It also uses the adaptive bullseye training method to calculate when you have randomly good performances, see what training it was that you did that got you there, and uses more of that training that worked moving forward. This was a massive thing for Jim, who at 53 years old broke a 5-year plateau pulling a 6:38 2K. He was stuck on the See How I Feel program. When we figured out what training he actually needed to do, without having to commit more time, his results skyrocketed. Now, long-term planning is when you look at what races you have, what holidays you have, what your work schedule is going to be like, if there's more stressful periods, if there's easier periods, and then fits around those locked in dates and figures out when you need to push, when you need to recover. This is actually a massive error that many plateauing busy professionals make. They think that if they miss a week of training because of work, they need to make up for it in the next week. They never recover, they never improve, and again, just sends them into the plateau loop. Now, the one-size-fits-none program can generally have decent long-term planning. However, that's based around the group. Now, you might be aiming to peak for a race, but is it impossible for one-size-fits-none programs to accommodate for when you're going to be traveling, when you need to be recovering? The See How I Feel program, again, it will fit into your schedule, but a lot of the time it's very reactive. You're not planning your phases. You're not planning when you're going to target your weak areas. You only kind of wait until you're at the point where you feel like you need a rest to then rest. Think about long-term planning and recovery like staying hydrated. If you feel the need to drink, you're already dehydrated. If you feel the need to rest, then you're already too fatigued. Now, the AIM method is as I described. When do you want to peak? When do you have other fixed areas in your personal or work life? Structure your pushes and your recovery phases around that so it fits seamlessly. This was actually a massive thing for Scott, who would work 4 weeks in a ship and 4 weeks at home. He would essentially have 4 weeks at home where he could push his training and then 4 weeks at sea where he had to recover due to the long and stressful days. He took his 2K from a 6:22 to a 6:18 at 43 years old in 22 weeks of working with us. To the technique. Technique is an awesome area to look to. That's often where we look to find our athletes quick fixes. Now, the one-size-fits-none program can depend. There are many programs out there where there are elite coaches that are able to give you great feedback. However, it's more directed to the crew or the group. And if they are able to give you one-to-one attention, it's only for a few minutes every month. And to the lower end, it can often not be that helpful. This one gets a range of 4 to 7 out of 10. The See How I Feel program, pretty much your only means of giving yourself technical feedback is by filming yourself, looking at it, looking at videos online, and trying to figure out how you can bring that into your stroke. The AIM method is based around intentional technique. It's based around giving you simple, actionable pieces of advice that you can actually implement into your stroke. Again, being told to get your blades off the water or to row with more connection or to have nicer catches is great, but that's still the objective. With intentional technique, you understand literally what it is that you need to do to make the technical improvement. This was a massive thing for Michelle, who was getting pulled left and right by the opinions of other people in her club. And while of course that can be helpful, she wasn't getting the direction that she needed to really accelerate her progress. She started this training as a complete sculling beginner and is now racing and competing in some of the biggest masters races in the world. Now, the social side of it. You might not think that this is that important for getting faster, but for a lot of people, it forms a big part of why they row. Now, the one-size-fits-none program definitely is a 10 out of 10. You see people every day. You get to speak to them every day. It's about as social as it gets. The See How I Feel program, on the other hand, you're doing it on your own. It gets a 1 out of 10. Now, the AIM method, this is where there's a massive range. You can use this method entirely on your own and just dedicate all of your time to your training. You can also easily fit your training that you do within a club structure. Normally, when people work with us, they're doing 2 or 3 club sessions, and then they're heading off on their own to do targeted, individualized training. Now, you could, in theory, do all of your program at the gym the same time everybody is down, but the whole point in this training is for it to be the training that works for you and nobody else. So it's not possible for it to score a 10. But if you're anything like me, you're quite happy to do some training on your own sometimes. Now, a good example of this is one of our athletes, Kristen. A big reason as to why she rows is so that she can socialize and be around other people. At the same time, she wants structure when she's training on her own. She wants direction, and she wants to know that she's on the fastest path to her full potential. So her plan accommodates for the times that she goes and trains with her crew. It also accommodates for her personal schedule and her weak areas. Now, mindset, the least popular when I talk about it in content, but in my opinion, by far the most important area to look at and to train. Just to be clear, when we talk about mindset training, we're not talking about motivating people to train. Our mindset training only really applies to people who have passion, they have drive, they have commitment. It's just being channeled in the wrong direction. Mindset training is all about breaking down your training into step-by-step methods that you can do. Mindset training is so hard because it's so elusive, it's hard to quantify, and it can snowball and have an effect without you even realizing it. Again, there's a range for one-size-fits-none programs. However, most of the time, due to the competitive nature of clubs, the comparison, the opinions of other people, it can often have a negative impact on your mindset. It gets a 1 to 4 out of 10. The See How I Feel program, in my experience, I've never come across somebody who's following a See How I Feel program while also training their mindset in a methodical way. And again, the AIM method is all about breaking down your mindset into actionable pieces of advice that you can bring into your rowing. It's something that Chris used, one of our mindset techniques. He really struggled with the first 250 of his 2K. He took 14 seconds off of his 2K score in 2 weeks just by using this mindset method. Now, results per hour is basically how effective are you being with your limited amount of training time? How much of it are you wasting? And look, sometimes the one-size-fits-none program can actually be the best program that you're on, but chances are it only ever is effective for you for a couple weeks of a time because your physiology is always changing. Your weak and strong areas are always changing. So it can be effective, but it's only for a short amount of time. It gets a 5 out of 10. And again, look, the See How I Feel program, it can be effective. It does work around your schedule. You can train when you want, but there's no data tracking. There's no weak areas. There's no technical breakdown. There's no methodical mindset. It gets a 4 out of 10. And again, the AIM method is literally built around you maximizing your limited training time so that every second you're training, it is the most effective it can be. And this is without wasting your energy and destroying your health. Now, this is Julian. He's a hedge fund manager, an incredibly busy schedule. So when he was training, he had to be on it. He took his 5K score from a 156 to a 150 while being in his 50s, and he's now chasing a lifetime PB that he set in college, shooting for a 148 split. Enjoyment is probably the most important thing. It doesn't matter how well you're progressing. If you're hating your training, it's a waste of time to me. Now, again, the one-size-fits-none program can still be fun to get out and socialize with people and have a laugh. But even then, deep down, you know when you're not reaching your full potential that there's something missing. And for me and the athletes that we work with, the whole point in rowing is to get better and to see improvements. That's the fun side of it. Now, the See How I Feel program, guessing day to day, wasting your energy, burning yourself out, doing it on your own, having no guidance on mindset or technique. For me, I don't think that's very fun. It gets a 2 out of 10. Now, for the AIM method, consistency is one of the most important parts to getting benefit from it. One of the best training programs for you is the one that you can follow consistently. Enjoying your training more is going to allow you to train more consistently, which is going to get you better results. It fits around your schedule, it uses your weak areas, it structures into your long-term plan, it gives you technical breakdowns, you can socialize if you want to, your mindset is getting mastered, it's the most effective training program for your time. How can it not be enjoyable? This is Ozran, who is stuck halfway between a See How I Feel program and a one-size-fits-none program. Before starting the AIM method, he was 20 seconds down on his competitors in the single. After starting the AIM method, he was 20 seconds up on his competitors. Burnout, something that every rower should be looking to avoid. It obviously destroys your performance, but more importantly, it has a negative impact on your health. A one-size-fits-none program is often pretty bad for this. A big part of that comes down to the long-term plan. You don't have your structured recovery, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that the schedule doesn't work in with you. It gets a 2 out of 10. Now, the See How I Feel program, when you have ambition and drive, is pretty much guaranteed to get you to burnout. When you don't see results, you're going to try and do more, you're going to try and take away from recovery, and with a matter of time, you're going to get to a point of burnout. It gets a 1 out of 10. Again, the AIM method, one of the massive strengths of tracking your data is that while you want elements of fatigue in your training, when you're looking at your data, you can spot fatigue coming before it's too late. And even then, the long-term plan's accommodating for recovery. It's fitting within your weekly schedule. This is something that Shabana was struggling with massively. Alongside the lack of data tracking and long-term planning, her splits were way off for what actually worked for her. She didn't realize it at the time, but every time she was on the erg, she was inching herself closer to burnout. Within 1 week of following the AIM method, her splits were dialed in, her recovery shot back up, and so did their performances. Now, finally, one of the big objectives that we believe all rowers should have is seeing what their full potential is within the time that they're able to commit to. This is where you can look back on a training block or a year or a decade and say yes to the question, did I do absolutely everything that I could within my schedule to reach my full potential? And if you aim to reach your full potential, regardless of what results or times you hit, you will be feeling fulfillment in what you have done. And again, look, the one-size-fits-none program, it can get you there. People have progressed quickly on this, but you're never actually doing what really truly works for you. 5 out of 10. The See How I Feel program, now, if you're organized, if you dedicate time every week to tracking your data, to planning your schedule, to seeing what weak areas you need to do, to breaking down your technique, to targeting your mindset with methodical steps, you can progress, but realistically, you're never going to be progressing to your full potential. And finally, the AIM method, the whole objective of the AIM method is to work around you, your schedule, your weak areas, your strong areas, your long-term plan, what you want to do with the sport, what time you have available, maximizing your limited training time so that you can row to the best version of you. This gets a 10 out of 10. So something that Andrea was struggling with. She had been doing the training, she was following a one-size-fits-none program, she was committed, she had the drive, she had the desire, but she just felt like something was missing. Within 10 weeks of using the AIM method, Andrea took 10 seconds off of her 2K, breaking a massive plateau. Final score, one size fits none, 49 out of 100. See How I Feel, 28 out of 100. And the AIM method, 91, again, accounting for those ranges, 91 to 98 out of 100. Now, if you're still sitting there thinking, okay, yes, that worked for so-and-so, yes, that worked for hundreds of the athletes that have followed this method, but it can't work for me. All you have to do is tell us what your weekly schedule is, and we build the plan around that. You tell us what your long-term plan is, when you're going to be busy, when you're on holiday. We structure the plan around that. You just have to track your data. We take care of the data analytics for you. You get your camera phone, you film yourself on the rowing machine or on the boat, you send that footage to us, we break it down into step-by-step processes and drills that you can do. You just have to communicate your mindset struggles. You just say, I'm struggling with these nerves, I'm finding it hard to focus here, I get overwhelmed at this point in the race. We break that down, we give you the methodical methods that improve your mindset. And if there's ever a change in your schedule or something doesn't fit, you just tell us. The two ways it goes is you have the plan, you do it, you log it, we analyze it. For whatever reason you're not able to do the plan, work goes pear-shaped or something in your personal life comes up, you just say, I missed that training, and we do the adjusting for you. Now, of course, feel free to use our content. We are very restricted in terms of how many people we can work with one-to-one. That's why I spend a lot of time putting out free content like this out there. Or you can simply apply to our coaching, see if you'd be a great fit, and find out if we can help you. If you're anything like me, you see the value in removing the decision fatigue, removing the guesswork in the areas that you don't specialize in. I have a business coach, a mindset coach, a finance coach, a therapist, a physiologist who helps us with our coaching, all because I recognize that those aren't my specialisms. This removes daily decision fatigue, allows me to focus on what I know I'm good at. Then when it comes to switching off, I know that all those areas are taken care of for me. Now, at the moment, we might not actually have space to take you on. We normally work close to capacity, so there will be a link in the description, but if you apply, we may not be able to take you on. We may not currently have space. If you are tired of the deflation, the dissatisfaction, the stagnation, and you have commitment, you have desire, you have drive, you want to see what your full potential is in this sport without destroying your energy levels, without destroying your health, and without wasting your limited training time, also that you can row to the best version of you, go to the link in the description now. If you're still watching this, it means that you're interested, it means that you're curious, but you're wondering, is it right for me? What happens if I apply? You've watched this video, just click the link, fill out the form, book in a call, and on that call, you're just going to get value. It's a win-win. There are two ways it can go when you apply to our coaching. If you're not a great fit for our coaching, I always aim to give you value on the call, to give you advice that you can implement into your rowing. That way, even if you're not a great fit, there's at least one more person that is out there in the rowing world that has an idea of what they can do to improve, and that also is going to hopefully say something positive about us. Or we are a great fit, and we simply explore what working together might look like. So if you're still here, head to the link in the description, find out if we have space. Head to the link now. It's time to finally find out what it's like to row to your full potential.